Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, it is a great honor for me to be part of the Nigeria Governors Forum. Congratulations to all who have been elected as new and returning governors of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. The election process of 2019 should be seen as another concrete step to strengthen our democracy. As with all emerging democracies, lessons must be learned and gaps addressed over the next few years to ensure the 2023 elections meet the expectations of all Nigerians. I'm also pleased to join the participants, past governors, national and opinion leaders, the private sector and development partners at this gathering. The theme of this year's forum, Governance for Impact, resonates well with the Regional 2063 Agenda and the Global 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, our common roadmap for a better future for all. These goals set out to tackle humanity's most pressing challenges: poverty, inequality, gender, health, education, inclusive economies, conflict, human rights, and climate change. They are a clarion call to governments, the private sector, and development partners to forge new partnerships to achieve Agenda 2030. The Nigeria Governors Forum is a unique platform and an opportunity for you to share knowledge, exchange experiences, and explore how you can better serve the people in your respective states. The federal structure of Nigeria is complex, and there is an urgent need to examine why the three-tier governance structure in Nigeria, federal, state, and local government, is not fulfilling its potential. It is also important to ask the same of the three arms of governments, the executive, judicial, and legislative, that are essential to the integrity of a credible and lasting democracy. As you govern your states, local government should be where we lay the foundation of good and responsive governance, since it is closest to people's lives and constitutionally has the responsibility to deliver on basic services like education, clean water, sanitation, and health. Sadly, over the years, local government has been neglected, in some cases abandoned. In most, it remains a huge challenge. Governors have a moral responsibility to reverse this trend. You have an important opportunity to champion and open up the political space for local government, to encourage participation from the grassroots level, and to address injustice and exclusion by bringing the voices of young people and women to the table, working together to achieve a life of dignity that leaves no one behind. Excellencies, as you begin your 4-year term as governors of your states, an integral part of the potentials of the Nigerian economy, it is important to reflect on the key determinants of state creation. Fundamentally, the creation of states was based on the ability to be self-sustaining, economically and socially in a secure environment where all your people have a right to aspire to a life of peace and prosperity. In the short time I have to contribute to this important session, let me focus on two critical issues that I see as an imperative to addressing the root causes of the current state of weak governance in Nigeria today, and by extension, in every state of the Federation. First, the imperative of strong institutions, which underpin security, public service, and the rule of law, without which countries will not achieve sustainable development. The security of your domain and its people remain your first duty. It is essential that this sector is resourced to provide adequate personnel, well-equipped and trained for the multiplicity of challenges in your current and future environments. Taking stock of your current status and the requirements must be an integral part of your strategic planning over the next 4 years. Coordinated, reprofiled security agents and new skill sets will be needed for all levels of the security apparatus. Given the federal structure of Nigeria, it will also be important for the Governors Forum to strengthen the interaction and engagement in key platforms and mechanisms at the federal level of government, to ensure that synergies are achieved to enhance efficiencies of both the deployment of human and financial resources. This includes the sharing of knowledge, expertise, and intelligence in a timely and constructive manner. Ultimately, the goal for achieving a secure state will be found in the community, where they have a stake in keeping the peace, because they should see a future where their aspirations are fulfilled. On public service delivery, it is the bedrock of basic rights for all people, enshrined in the Constitution. The executive which you head should not make this a trade-off. Ensuring a quality education for all, access to health services, especially for our women and children, clean water, sanitation, and power are all a prerequisite for sustainable development. These can be achieved through strong socioeconomic policies and anchored through a robust social protection floor that addresses the needs of the poor and vulnerable people in our society. However, the quality and the mindset of the public service will be critical to the delivery of these services. Underpinning strong institutions is the rule of law. Ensuring an independent and impartial judiciary is key for justice to prevail. While a strong representative legislature ensures the rights and aspirations of people are heard and acted upon, checks and balances must be designed to strengthen and protect governance structures which deliver to the people. This includes the tax bodies and systems that underpin domestic resource mobilization that is critical to sustaining services and growing the economy. Excellencies, this takes me to the issue of social cohesion. Nigeria is known for its vast and deep cultural, religious, and ethnic diversity. It has often been the envy of many a country across the globe. Nigerians the world over have a reputation for strong core values, an independence of voice that is unparalleled. Sadly, over the past few decades, Nigeria has become to be perceived and defined by a narrative of corruption, violence, conflict, ethnic and religious bias, flawed democracy, and harmful cultural practices. This narrative, which may be true in some cases, has undermined the true potential of Nigeria and Nigerians and set the country back on its development trajectory. Under the recent leadership in Nigeria, there is a strong drive to correct this course. However, this is not a challenge that can only be addressed at one level of government alone, especially since Nigerians all reside in one local government or state or the other in the Federal Republic of Nigeria. The responsibility of states to address these current challenges rests with the leadership of the governors, their legislatures, and local government chairs. Each and every state has different challenges and opportunities to succeed, but none can do this alone. The well-being of the society will determine if you succeed or you fail. The social fabric must hold for society to have the building blocks for social cohesion that charts a path for sustainable development and peace. Government has a role in ensuring an enabling environment for this to happen, by including all stakeholders and constituencies in dialogue and inclusive participation in state building. Youth and women have a key role to play, not just as passive beneficiaries, but active players in the town hall and on the decision-making table. Today, Nigeria is beset by numerous conflict challenges, exacerbated by poverty, climate change, population growth, and inequality. But ultimately, the root cause is weak governance. As leaders, you will have to rebuild the trust deficit of varying degrees between the people and institutions. Partnerships will be key with civil society, the private sector, faith leaders, academia, and traditional institutions. The good news is that these challenges are man-made, and I'll say man, not women, and therefore there are opportunities and solutions for both men and women to address. However, this will require the solidarity of the governors with one voice, based on the common ground you find together as an integral part of Nigeria and your desire to succeed in your mandate. It will also require strategic engagement with the federal level and the international community. Good governance that rewards hard work and holds to account impunity will be central to achieving all our goals and leveraging the investments in your states that will be necessary for development. I urge you to build on your campaign promises and to provide effective and transformative leadership that enables all Nigerians, including women and girls, to fulfill their potential. Excellencies, the Sustainable Development Goals are a viable framework, ambitious yet achievable. They offer opportunities for the world and for Nigeria to bring development to everyone. In the fourth year of its implementation, progress sadly is insufficient and uneven. If we continue along the current trajectory, we will only be halfway towards achieving the 17 SDGs by 2030. We need to redouble our efforts. As governors, you are at the heart of this call to action. I would like to offer 3 reflections on opportunities to accelerate your progress. First, the SDGs can serve as a key framework for budgeting at the state level. Kaduna State is not only a leading example in Nigeria, but has been recognized globally at the United Nations. State governments will need long, medium, and short-term strategies to create and use the fiscal space necessary to promote sustained and inclusive growth. Long-term plans should build on the goals and indicators which are set out in the 2030 Agenda. Medium-term plans and revenue and expenditure frameworks should then drive annual budgets and short-term plans. Second, states must increase internally generated revenue to finance SDG implementation. The failure to generate such revenue at the federal and state levels was a noticeable and recurring bottleneck in the effective implementation of the Millennium Development Goals, meaning that most states had to rely on federal and external donor support and commercial loans. The implementation of your development goals should not rely on external funding. Indeed, SDG 17 specifically calls for the strengthening of domestic resource mobilization, including through improving domestic capacity for tax and other revenue collection. Tax systems are fundamental to nation building. As governors, I urge you to implement tax policies that encourage voluntary compliance and to resolutely and legally enforce compliance where necessary. Pragmatic and strategic policies and commitments at the state level will be essential to implementing the scaled-up programs that are needed to achieve the SDGs in Nigeria. The third key aspect of implementation is effective partnerships. These will be essential to delivering the SDGs by 2030. I call on you to transform and recalibrate your engagement with development partners and the international community in Nigeria, particularly when it comes to strategic arrangements, including joint resource mobilization. This will require strengthening your capacity to engage with the federal government, civil society, the private sector, international financial institutions, and the United Nations. Innovative strategic partnerships with other state governments and with the private sector could make a significant difference for SDG implementation. This will be essential for climate action, as it will be for taking profit of the new age of technology and artificial intelligence. Excellencies, as you take office, justice, transparency, and inclusiveness should be at the top of your agenda. I urge you to emphasize the concept of public service based on the needs and priorities of the people that you serve. And I call on you to make tough decisions, to lead by example, to be the champions of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development in all the work that you do. Although our offices may be thousands of miles apart, I see the United Nations as partners united in our efforts for a better world. It is both an individual and collective responsibility for us all. Working together, you can bring the talent, the courage, and the resources to end all conflicts from the northeast of our country to the Niger Delta and beyond, so that we can transition and sustain peace, thus improving the lives and livelihoods of all citizens. Once again, I congratulate you on your election, wishing you a very successful tenure, and I wish you a fruitful Governors Forum. I thank you.